I'm Alan Robarge, a psychotherapist and a relationship coach. Welcome to Improve Your Relationships, where I like to talk about attachment injuries and healing attachment trauma. And on this video, let's talk about the fear of being alone for the rest of your life. And I am not going to sugarcoat this message and immediately jump in to caretake and make everyone feel good and to create some kind of empty platitude that says, oh, of course you'll meet someone. Of course you're going to be in loving, healthy, fulfilling relationship. You won't be alone for the rest of your life. I do not have a crystal ball, so I don't know. I don't know really what's possible. But what we are going to talk about on this video is what is really going on when we look at that phrase, the fear of being alone for the rest of your life. And I'm going to turn it into a statement, a very provocative statement that says, yes, you are going to be alone for the rest of your life. And then I will join you and I'll say, I too, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. So we have to begin to uncode and uncover what the heck are we really talking about. So at face value, we're talking about having a romantic partner, a significant other, and living a life like the people we see on Facebook with all the smiley faces and, jumping up and down on the beach and sitting in the stands of a baseball game with your partner, and everyone, your head is tilted in towards each other and you got that big fake smile on, and you take a selfie and you post it on Facebook, and we are so happy that we are living the life. And if you don't have that, you can feel left out, because the culture says that to not have that and to not live that type of romantic narrative playing out in your life, that you're somehow less than and you're missing out on something. And many of you, / many of us, many of you believe that. You believe your life is less than. And that we then have this core fear of being alone. And there's certain layers of what this means. Some of this is about, real isolation and abandonment and rejection, a kind of alone. We're not so much afraid of being alone in the sense on a day-to-day basis of not having a partner. We're afraid of our own feelings. We're afraid of that deep, dark place of emptiness, and how it just can feel so incredibly like we have this strong rash, this really strong poison ivy that just makes us itch. We just do not, or we're in the fire, we're in a cauldron in the fire. We cannot go to that place of really being alone. Now, for many of us, it links us back to some childhood feelings that were so overwhelming that we are accessing them from the point of view of the child. So that I'm really entering the fear of my 5-year-old self. I'm really entering being frightened, when I was 8 years old. And those moments of complete disconnect where I realized, wow, I'm really alone here. And that perhaps you have some history similar to that. You have some history where, as a younger self, you really truly were abandoned. You really truly were rejected. You really truly was ignored. And that is painful. And your little girl self, your little boy self, your younger self, your child self, the part of you that still remembers what it's like to be flooded and overwhelmed with the absence and the lack of connection. And usually there is a very strong, goes beyond a psychological awareness or psychological function. It is a physiological, neurobiological function where our attachment system, our nervous system is flooded with hormones and flooded with panic of disconnect, because attaching and bonding and feeling connected is linked to our survival as a species. So if you don't have that, and you're in this moment where you're realizing, wow, I am really abandoned here. I'm really rejected here. It can activate this core primal survival fear to say, I need people, I need connection, I need to camaraderie, I need to feel that I'm part of the community, I need to feel that I'm part of the tribe, I need to feel that I'm part of the family. And if we don't have this, it can frighten us. So, if we know this, and we perhaps have this history, it just seems completely illogical to ever embrace or even entertain the phrase, maybe I'll be alone for the rest of my life. I mean, it makes sense that so many of us are going to completely have an aversion, a strong aversion, avoid it, like an extreme disease, like the plague, something, like, I am not even going to entertain in my brain, in my mind, I am not even going to think about this idea that I could be alone for the rest of my life, because it is going to link me to this history and to the feeling state and activate my nervous system around survival and needing secure attachment. And if I don't have that, then I just totally implode, melt down, come undone, and life is too frightening. And I can't operate from that. So therefore, I need to put blinders on. I need to buffer myself from this potential reality. So here's the point of this. That's a setup. I mean, all of what I just said is the setup to this video, this part of the video, is when we have the wherewithal, the strength, the psychic capacity to really drop into the potential that, in fact, you know what? You really might be alone for the rest of your life. And I join you. I'm there with you. I might be alone for the rest of my life. Here's why I'm sharing this. If we can move beyond how frightening that is, based upon seeing it through the lens of our history, and we try to see it as neutrally as possible, as grounded as possible, from a contemplative observer self place to assess reality, to say, we are not surprised. Some people are in relationships, some people aren't. Some people, feel connected and some people don't. If we really are able to be honest with that reality, and we drop down into stating, I might be alone for the rest of my life, something very interesting happens. I have choice. There's a spaciousness. There's a freedom. I can begin to not be frightened by that whole idea. And I begin to put it into perspective to say, well, it's not that shocking. It's not that original of an idea. If you went on the street and you said, I want to tell you, you went to a stranger and you said, hey, I want to tell you something I'm aware of. Some people in this world will be by themselves and will not have a partner, and will spend the rest of their life alone. If you said that to a stranger, you would be really hard-pressed to find anyone who is surprised, because we all know this. This is not news. So if we can drop into a more grounded place of neutral observation, and we let in not the frustrating, fear-based aspects of that statement, but we really look at it honestly. Hey, you know what? I might be alone for the rest of my life. And hey, you know what? You might be alone for the rest of your life. What I am sharing with you here is that even if that is a personal loss, and you would prefer that not to be the case, I challenge you to notice how to even say that from a neutral place all of a sudden creates some relief and spaciousness, that we do not need to be tortured by the history of that fear and abandonment. And we do not need to be tortured with this idea of being deprived and left out of something. And when we're not tortured, and when there's some spaciousness in our mind, that we can welcome that idea. It is not shocking. It's not a big deal. Maybe you're going to be alone the rest of your life. It's, Big whoop. Maybe I am going to be alone for the rest of my life. That's just, one possible reality. And if we can be so casual about it, the way that I'm presenting it here, it can greatly diminish linking into that history where we're frightened from the point of view of our child self, and we actually discover that there is some spaciousness, some choice, and we actually discover that we can summons our own agency, our own asserting our will. Well, if this is true, if it is true that I very possibly will be alone for the rest of my life, how the heck do I want to live out the next 30 years? How the heck do I want to live, depending on how old you are, how do you want to live out the next 20 years? Do you want to frame it from the point of view that you're somehow lacking and missing something and that you're going to be tortured and frightened by this very reality? Or is it possible that you can expand your understanding of you might not get this one special prized relationship of the special significant other where you're going to live together, but you very much might be able to invest in friendships and community and other family relationships, and realize that while life might not deliver and meet you in the way that you thought it would, you still have a lot of life left to live. And so to enter the frightening place and the distasteful place and the haunting place, to really look in the mirror and say, you know what? It's very possible. This is as good as it gets. I'm not going to find, I don't really think I'm going to find a partner for whatever reason. I really don't think that, I'm going to play out the romantic narrative and find someone to live happily ever after with. And I might grieve the narrative. I might grieve the story. I might grieve the grasping of having wanted that so much, so much. But when we're able to take a break from frightening ourselves with the possibility that this is not happening, we can drop into a bit more of spaciousness and choice to realize we still have life left to live, and there are many, 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 many other ways to find and create meaningful relationships. It does not have to be in that one form. So in fact, to say I might be alone for the rest of my life is really giving me permission and freedom. It's inviting a freedom that I don't have to be bogged down in this perspective of loss. I don't have to be bogged down in this perspective of being deprived. Life is not giving me this one special relationship. We just shrug our shoulders and say, well, isn't that interesting? Because there's this whole other set of ways to experience life differently. It might not be your first choice. It might not be how you were interrogated by the cultural model of what relationship is supposed to look like. But I can pretty much guarantee it's still rich, it's still meaningful, it will still surprise you, and it will give you a sense of belonging and connection. And however, on the outside, it might technically look like, yeah, you're alone. Well, many people are. It is okay. It is okay if you are alone forever. It's okay if you don't find that one special person. Do not implode into some personal wound around that belief. There are other ways to orient. And when we free ourselves from this narrative, when we free ourselves from this very myopic way of grasping and desiring relationship, then you open up some possibility for new ways of relating. And that is enriching. That's what provides a sense of belonging, a willingness to adapt. Don't be so rigid about the way relationship needs to look. It might not come in the form of a partner relationship. And that's not a tragedy. I mean, that's the message. This does not have to be a tragedy. I hope that this is helpful. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe here on YouTube. If you want to get the healthy relationship checklist, go to my website, and it's alanrobarge.com/checklist, and you can sign up and have that emailed to you. And then lastly, if you also want to learn more about me, you can do so at my website. Thank you for watching, and more videos to come. See you soon.